What's good, everyone? Michael here at Summer Game Fest, and I just played Pragmata, which is a new IP from Capcom. And let me tell you something, this might be my game of the show. So to give you a brief idea of what Pragmata is it's a third-person sci-fi action shooter. Now that doesn't sound too exciting or different right off the bat, but the key element here is the hacking ability. So the way this works is that you are playing as this mechanized super soldier guy who can shoot guns and you fight robots and all that. But you can't really damage the robots until you hack them. So there's this unnamed little girl who sits on your back. And what you do is when you aim down your sight, you lock in on an enemy, and then you have to do a really quick hacking puzzle. And when you do that hacking puzzle, you then expose a weakness of that enemy, and then you can actually inflict damage on them. So on top of that, there's also status effects that you can inflict on the enemies if you do the puzzle in a certain way. So you're not just like trying to get from one end to the other. It works like a flowchart puzzle, and you've got to get to the end of the puzzle really quickly to then expose them. So, but along that path, you can go in different directions along the hacking path to inflict specific status effects. And so it has this really dynamic element to combat. And I really like that little touch. It feels like, even though it doesn't sound like it's a game changer or whatever, it really does affect the dynamic and the flow of combat. And being able to engage the player in a new way, I think, goes a long way for standing out. So you might look at this or look at a trailer and have really no idea what this game is about. If you just key in on that element, I think it's interesting enough to hook you in. Because I went into this having not really a good idea of what Pragmata was, but just having that gameplay element really hooked me in. So it's a pretty intense game too. When you have, you're fighting in pretty enclosed spaces, and you have these robots coming after you. But how you manage those combat scenarios can get really intense. Like, who do you hack first? Can you make sure that you initiate the hack in time before you get attacked by somebody else? And these are just kind of the smaller elements that really help the game feel exciting and feel dynamic, more so than just being a third-person shooter. There wasn't too much to share on the premise of the story. You don't really have a good idea of what's going on. That's just kind of the nature of playing an early build of a game, and there's some cinematics that tease what's going on here. I know, like, at the end of this demo and some of the environmental storytelling and some of the notes that you can read along the way, you're on this high-tech facility on the moon, and I don't really know what's going on in that story, but it has me curious enough to see what else is being told in this story. But even if the story elements aren't really going to hook me, I think it's the action is enough to have me keeping my attention on this game. And I'll kind of want to know what the deal is with this little girl who has hacking abilities. I think that's kind of an interesting premise to this. What their dynamic is going to be throughout the story. The guy that you're controlling and this little girl who has super hacking abilities. But other than that, there isn't too much else I saw. It was a brief 15-20 minute demo. But just getting a little taste of that combat alone is enough for me to keep my eye on this. It's coming out in 2026. I really want to play more of this game. At the end of the demo, there was this big mech boss fight that started up, but that's where the demo ended. So they got me already, man. So I can't wait to see more of this game. It's coming out in 2026. And if you want to know more about Pragmata, be sure to stick with IGN.